Here's a question that really shouldn't be that hard in 2026. You just walked off of a transmitter site. Your phone is full of photos, antenna connections, transmission line routing, the inside of a combiner cabinet that you've been trying to document for the last 3 months, maybe some wiring diagrams, how things are currently hooked up. Your laptop is sitting right there, right next to you. They're on the same Wi-Fi, and somehow the default answer for most people is either email it to yourself or upload it to Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, and download it on the other side. You literally just bounced a photo of your transmission line to another state just to get it from your phone to your laptop. And look, if you're in the Apple world, AirDrop handles this and handles it pretty well. But most engineers I know are not fully in one ecosystem. They're not fully in the Apple world, Windows world, what have you. You know, maybe you've got a Windows machine at the shop, a Linux box in the rack, an Android phone in your pocket, and whoever you're working with that day just so happens to have an iPhone. The second anything non-Apple shows up, AirDrop just stops, doesn't try, doesn't negotiate, just done. This is the Tyler Woodward Project, and today I want to talk about a tool that solves this without asking you to pledge your allegiance to any one ecosystem. The app is called LocalSend. It's free, it's open source, and it moves files directly between devices on your local network. Windows, macOS, Linux, Android, iOS, all of them. Same app, same experience, no cloud provider in the middle, no accounts, no please update your payment method before you can share this PDF. Just your devices talking to each other on whatever network you're on. I'm going to walk you through how it actually works, where it's actually useful for broadcast engineering, where it might fall a little short, why I think this is one of those quiet tools that deserves way more attention in this industry than it currently gets. So let's start with the basics. LocalSend is a peer-to-peer file transfer app. You can install it on all your devices. And as long as they're on the same local network, they show up in a list and you can send stuff between them. That's the entire pitch. But the details, they do matter, because the details are what makes this different from just another file sharing app. First, it's genuinely cross-platform. Windows, macOS, Linux, Android, iOS, all supported as equals. Linux is not an afterthought here. You get Debian packages, app images, ARM builds for Raspberry Pi, the whole spread, all of it. That matters if you're running a mixed shop, which in broadcast is everyone. Second, it's fully offline, not offline with an asterisk, not offline, but we ping a server for discovery. There is no LocalSend cloud. Your data goes from your device A, to device B over your local area network. And that's where the story ends. Third, it's open source. No ads, no tracking, no data collection. The code and the protocol are both on GitHub. If you want to know exactly what it's doing, you can read it for yourself. Now, let me walk you through what actually happens when you tap send. Because once you understand it, you'll also understand why it breaks when it breaks. Both devices need to be on the same local network. Same Wi-Fi SSID, same Ethernet segment, or a setup where those share a subnet. If your phone is on the shop Wi-Fi and your laptop is on the guest SSID, they might feel close, but they're invisible to each other. Different VLANs, different broadcast domains. LocalSend can't send across that. From there, each LocalSend instance runs a small HTTPS server, typically on port 533.17. and uses local network announcements so other devices can find it. From your side, you just see a list of friendly device names. Tyler PC, Tyler Pixel, Tyler ThinkPad. Behind the scenes, that's IP addresses and service discovery doing the work. When you pick a target and send a file, LocalSend opens a direct HTTPS connection between the two devices and streams the data across it. No relay, no middleman. Speed is basically whatever your LAN can handle. On decent Wi-Fi 6 or Ethernet, people regularly, see 20 to 50 plus megabytes per second. The bottleneck is your hardware and your disk, not some cloud rate limit. All transfers are wrapped in TLS with self-signed certificates that each device generates locally. So even on a shared network, someone passively sniffing traffic just sees encrypted blobs. And because it's open source, this isn't trust us. You can look at the protocol spec. You can read the code, build it from source if you're the paranoid type. And that's not a criticism. Being paranoid is kind of, you're doing the correct thing in this industry nowadays. Okay, so let's talk about where this actually fits in the broadcast workflow, because the use cases are different from I just want to send a photo to my wife. Site documentation. This is probably the biggest one for me. You go out to a site, you shoot some photos of a rack layout, the coax runs, the grounding system, the antenna connections. You've got maybe, let's say 40, 50 photos on your phone by the time you leave. Getting those onto your laptop to actually label them, organize them, put them in a folder, maybe add them to whatever site documentation setup you have. That friction, it's real. If you're an Android to Windows person, you're either plugging in a USB cable or bouncing everything through Google Photos or a cloud drive and hoping the upload didn't compress them in the garbage. LocalSend, you open the app, you see your laptop in the list, select all the photos, they land in your download folder at full resolution, zero compression, in about 10 seconds on a really good hotspot. Let's talk about manuals and PDFs. This one, I use this constantly. You've got a PDF of an Orban 8500 manual on your laptop. You're standing at the rack and you want to reference the AGC parameter table, whatever, without going back to your laptop constantly. Or you've got a spec sheet. Your colleague just emailed you on your phone and you need it on the machine that's actually connected to the equipment. LocalSend makes that a 5-second problem instead of let me email this to myself and hope the attachment doesn't get eaten by the virus scanner or whatever on your email hosting service. Firmware and config files. This is where cross-platform matters the most. Picture this. You've got a config backup from a Telos system on your Windows machine. You need to move it to a MacBook because that's what the other engineer on the project is using. Or you've got a firmware update on your Linux workstation, and you need to get it onto a USB drive that's formatted on a Windows laptop. LocalSend handles all those transfers cleanly without you having to care what OS either device is using. And I got a couple more. Stick with me here. iOS to Windows. We know how painful that can be. If you have an iPhone and a Windows machine, there is genuinely no good native way to move files between them. You can use iCloud, sure, but that requires everyone to have an Apple ID and a cloud subscription. You can plug in a USB cable, but then you're dealing with iTunes or the Windows Photos app, which is its own nightmare. LocalSend makes iOS and Windows talk to each other like they were designed to do that from the start, which, well, we clearly know they weren't. And again, a couple more. Android to Mac, same problem, different direction. Apple doesn't support Android file transfer natively in any meaningful way. LocalSend, again, is the answer. Install it on the Pixel, install it on the MacBook, same network, done. Linux to anything. This one, oh my God, I feel this one personally. If you run Linux, you know the routine. Most consumer file tools either don't support Linux at all, or they throw you a half-baked web UI and pretend that counts in some meaningful way. KDE Connects is great if you're in the KDE desktop environment world, but it gets rough on non-KDE setups and basically doesn't exist on Apple platforms. Except maybe the iPhone, I think. LocalSend treats Linux like a first-class citizen. There are Debian packages, app images, ARM builds, same app, same features, same flow as every other platform. For a community that's used to being an afterthought, that actually means a lot to us. You have no idea. Let me also talk about what this looks like in the field. You're at a remote site, you got no internet connection, or maybe some garbage DSL connection out in the boonies. Maybe you're on hotel Wi-Fi, a cellular hotspot, whatever. You throw up a travel router, you tether your phone. Now you've got a tiny little local network. LocalSend works perfectly on that. You're not depending on upload bandwidth. You're not waiting for a cloud sync. It's just your devices, your little network bubble, and direct transfers at whatever land speed it can support. That's where the no internet required thing stops being a bullet point and becomes an actual useful thing. You're at a transmitter site, let's say at 11 o'clock at night, trying to document what you just fixed before you drive home. The last thing you want to do is have to wait for your cloud drive to sync through a weak cell signal. I've done that way too many times. Now, let's be honest about where this goes sideways. Because, I'm not just going to give you the benefits. I'm also going to give you the pitfalls as well. The number one complaint you'll see is, my devices don't see each other. And almost every time, the answer is not that LocalSend is broken. It's that your network is doing exactly what someone configured it to do. Different SSIDs, maybe different VLANs. Your phone is on the guest Wi-Fi, laptop is on the main Wi-Fi. They can't find each other. Pretty straightforward, right? Move them to the same Wi-Fi network, the same SSID or the same VLAN. AP isolation. Some routers, especially in default configurations, prevent devices on the same SSID from talking to each other directly. That kills LocalSend discovery instantly. Usually you can fix that by turning off client isolation. VPN interference. If you're running a VPN tunnel that's routing all your traffic through a tunnel, your device might not treat the local network as actual local anymore. LocalSend discovery, the packets are getting swallowed by that tunnel. So that's not going to work. Check that. Firewall on Windows, especially. If you denied the allow this app on private networks prompt, you've blocked it. On Linux, if your inbound ports are locked down with IP tables or UFW, same deal. LocalSend needs to listen on port 533.17. What else is there? Mobile OS background restrictions. Both Android and iOS aggressively will kill apps in the background to save battery. If LocalSend isn't in the foreground, it might not be discoverable. So check that. Make sure you actually have it open right there on your screen. My mental model kind of goes to this. First, check the SSID, check the VLAN, check VPN, check firewall, in really that order. Then you can blame the app. Here's the quick setup checklist if you want to hit the ground running. Install from the official sources, the App Store on iPhone, Google Play on Android, the project's own download page or your distro's package manager. Don't grab random clones from sketchy mirror sites. Name your devices something useful like Tyler-PC, Tyler-Pixel, Tyler-ThinkPad. Future you is really going to appreciate it when you're in a hurry and there are 4 unnamed devices in the list and you're trying to figure out which one's which. Verify your network. Make sure all devices are on the same SSID or subnet. Turn off IP isolation, client isolation if your router has that sort of stuff enabled on the network you're trying to use. If you're on a VPN, either disconnect it or set up a split tunnel for local traffic. Allow it through your firewall on the device. On Windows, say yes to the private network prompt. On Linux, make sure port 533.17, TCP, and UDP are open. And on macOS, accept the incoming connections dialog. Set a sane download folder that you can remember. On desktop, point it somewhere you'll actually be able to get to or look or remember. On mobile, know where files land so they don't feel like they just disappeared into a black hole somewhere. And then, tell people you work with that this exists. It's 100 times more useful when the whole team is using it. After all that, here's where I land on this. You don't need to be locked into Apple's ecosystem or even Google's or anyone to get fast and reliable nearby file sharing. LocalSend proves that the basic networking your Wi-Fi already does is more than capable of handling this. And it does it all with encryption, without the cloud and without asking for a dime. AirDrop is fine if it works for you. Keep using it. I got no problem with that. I'm just trying to give you some alternatives. But if you're an engineer who runs a mixed shop, and honestly, that's probably most of us, and you're tired of the friction of moving files between OSs, LocalSend is a really good answer to that frustration. Pick the 2 devices that give you the most trouble. Install LocalSend on both. Give it a few minutes. I think you'll be surprised at how fast this becomes the way you do it going forward. That's the whole show. If you want more episodes like this, visit tylerwoodward.me for show notes, links, and the ways to support the show. Follow me at tylerwoodward.me on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram. You can also reach me on Matrix if you want, matrix.tylerwoodward.me, and subscribe and rate the show on your favorite podcast platform. If you know another engineer who's still emailing site photos to themselves, just get them off the phone. Do them a favor. Send them this episode. I'll catch you next week.